You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/CheapGeek. So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. This is episode number 148.
Season 4, Thanksgiving is Terrible and for Suckers.
Yeah.
Load it.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. Got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Today. Whatever. That's the beauty of the podcast. You know, you can kind of listen to it whenever you want, wherever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you're doing, you can listen, right?
Yeah.
If you have one of those jobs and you just happen to be working and it's Thanksgiving and you got the earbuds in or whatever, you're clickety-clacking away, doing data entry or tech support or whatever, you can listen to this podcast. See? Yeah. So anyway, this podcast is about Thanksgiving being terrible and for suckers, and we figured we'd go ahead and do it because there are people out there that work. And we do know that the service industry has people at work, and merchandising has people at work, and we also have the firefighters and the police department and EMTs and paramedics and first responders in general and all the volunteers that may be on call. So we figured we'd make this little podcast episode about Thanksgiving being terrible and for suckers, because chances are you may not be able to participate as well or as much as you would like to.
And our U.S. military.
And the military, yeah, absolutely. I was going to talk a little bit more about them in great and agonizing detail because the military is my favorite. I used to be in the military, and there were times where I was not at home. I was doing the Turkey Day thing somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I will say this for the U.S. Navy, by God, the one meal they did not screw up was Thanksgiving.
Really?
Yeah. It's like they tried to pull out all the stops. See, in the Navy, there was this mythical bottle of taste that they would only sprinkle on some of the food. And they would crack that bottle of taste out and sprinkle it on Turkey Day. No, I mean, I always had a good Thanksgiving.
What was that taste?
It was just taste in general. You know, like you ever had stuff that's bland?
Mm-hmm.
That was all year long, with the exception of 2 times. Thanksgiving and then Christmas dinner.
See, I always
They would
imagined...
crack the bottle of taste and liberally douse it all over the foods.
I have sadly spent Thanksgiving in the hospital a couple times.
They don't have a bottle of taste.
Yeah, and I always wondered, because it was...
Well, they're like, oh, would you like diabetes-flavored Thanksgiving?
Well,
Here you go.
Well, it was military hospital, and I'd get
That's even worse. It's a double whammy.
I'd get the Thanksgiving tray, and I always wondered, well, is this the same tray my dad got,
Yes.
Really?
No.
Oh.
They probably put more taste on it. So, anyway, this is the CreepGeek Podcast, and this podcast is an offbeat news podcast. Takes a lighthearted approach to the paranormal, the cryptid, the strange, the silly, and trending tech topics circulating the web. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We broadcast our paranormal news and fun stories from our underground bunker in the mountains of western North Carolina.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. So anyway, this episode is going to be a little bit different because we're going to talk about Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we do have to do some quick admin stuff. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can certainly do that by a number of different ways. Probably the easiest is to call us if you have something you'd like to share. We have a phone number for that.
That phone number is 575-208-4025.
Yes, and we have a CreepGeeks Podcast influence on Facebook.
Yes.
It's called what?
Well, we have our fan page.
Yes, which is?
CreepGeeks Podcast.
What?
And that's where we release all the new episodes as well as updates about us.
Yes.
And then we have the Facebook group, and that is CreepGeeks Facebook group.
See how hard this is?
Yes.
And we also have CreepGeeks.com where you can go and you can see our latest and greatest podcast and some of the stuff that we actually share there. There's also a contact form there that you can click and fill out.
Yeah.
And if you do click and fill out the contact form and we actually see it, we'll try to put it either in our podcast or on that site,
Yeah.
or CreepGeeks.com. So,
And when you call us, it's a voicemail inbox. So just tell us your story and then let us know at the end if you want to be anonymous or not.
yes.
Alternately, if you got a long story to tell and you don't want to be on the phone, you can always email us contact@creepgeeks.com.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to support the show financially without actually really doing anything, it's more of a passive support measure.
Ooh.
You can do that by using our Amazon affiliate link. So when you shop on Amazon.com and you use our Amazon affiliate link, we'll get a small percentage.
Yeah.
Doesn't change your price at all, and it helps to keep the coffee flowing and the gas in the Albino Rhino. Yeah, which is what I need. I need some coffee flowing right now.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, because our adventure DIY simple camper van of destruction is our means for getting around. So anyway, a couple different ways you could do that. So also, if you're listening to this podcast, thank you very much. We very much appreciate it. If it is Thanksgiving for you and you are in a place where you can't, celebrate it or take part in it or whatever, you always have us to fall back on.
Aw.
Yeah. And there's some people that don't like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in just a second. Also, if you're in Canada, I think you already celebrated Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I actually
They do
learned
that like in October.
I learned that last year in my hiking group.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some places don't even celebrate Thanksgiving. Some places wish we didn't celebrate Thanksgiving at
I mean,
all.
places that aren't in North America.
Well, you know how we Americans are. It's all about America. Heck yeah. And, other countries complain, oh, you Americans only care about yourselves. Yes. Just like all the French people only care about the French people. You see what I'm saying? That's how that goes.
Okay.
Because it was in France where I heard that. You Americans only care about yourselves. Yes. That's what I told him. Yes, that is true. So, yeah.
Gosh.
It was a weird thing. Anyway, this podcast normally kind of begins with a simple random or interesting factoid, right?
Yeah.
So this interesting random factoid, we have a couple.
Oh.
Because it is Thanksgiving. And we're going to keep this episode relatively short. By short, I mean less than 3 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good luck with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well,
all right.
3 hours will at least get some of these people who have to work on Thanksgiving through at least part of their shift.
Oh, God.
So
Maybe.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, that's okay. You don't have to. It's all right.
Oh.
It's just it's something, Because honestly, we don't normally do a podcast like a holidays podcast at all, normally. Just because we just don't. You know what I mean?
Because we've had too much turkey.
Well, I
and
mean,
we're asleep on the couch.
Or we're working.
True.
Because, honestly, what is that? I'm just kicking stuff around. This is the first podcast episode we've done over the holidays where we haven't worked.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, because I'm thinking about all the holidays I have worked.
Yep.
And crazy fact about me, I've actually opted to work on Thanksgiving as long as I could get Black Friday off.
Yeah. I'd rather, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, kind of is what it is. So anyway, I'm your host, Greg.
I'm Omi.
And we're going to give you the interesting random factoid before we get into the podcast.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, you can catch this podcast pretty much anywhere. iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Pandora, Google Heart Radio music thing.
Google Podcasts.
Google Podcast,
Apple
play music.
Podcasts.
Apple Podcast.
Radio.com.
Radio.com. Just pick a podcast player and we're there. So.
Yeah. Don't have to download anything special.
Yeah. Well, you might. You might need an app, so you may have to download something special. That's false information you just put out there.
No, because
The whole thing is wrecked.
most Androids should ship with Google Play.
Most Androids, but we don't know that.
Okay.
Anyway. Well, it happens. Okay, so there has been a recent study that shows that Americans, as in most Americans, believe in aliens, ghosts, and Atlantis, but not Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
I find this ridiculous.
I don't.
Well,
I'm
do we
on
duke it out?
No. Well,
Fisticuff, fetch me my fighting trousers.
you know what? I will win.
No, you will not win.
Because I will have millennial logic behind me.
Ooh, millennial logic. What's going to happen with that? Your
So
millennial tears are delicious.
no.
No.
So with these, as education has progressed,
Well, hold on. We have to tell them what it actually is before we get into your little argument here.
okay.
So researchers have asked the public what they thought of several different types of paranormal phenomenon, and this is courtesy of mysteriousuniverse.org, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And pretty much what happens is, in the part of the study, they compose 7 different statements, such as aliens have visited our Earth in the ancient past, places can be haunted by spirits, and the respondents either agreed or disagreed with the phrases. And the study revealed that almost 3 out of every 4 people believe in some type of paranormal activity, and the majority of them believe in more than one type of supernatural phenomenon. And the most common belief is that the responders was that there was at one time advanced ancient civilizations, such as like Atlantis.
Mm.
And one of every 2 people believes in lost advanced civilization of Atlantis. That's kind of weird, like 50-50, right?
Yeah.
And of course, excuse me, the popular belief that ghosts actually exist. And, you think with those 2 things that they would believe in Bigfoot, but evidently that is not necessarily the case. So, there you go.
Where's the statistic for how many people believe in Bigfoot?
Excuse me, only 16%.
Wow, that's kind of sad.
It is kind of sad.
So, I think with the way education has progressed over the past, I want to say 20 years, it's expanded our ability to understand our Earth itself. But it's also raised a lot of questions. Earth itself, the whole concept of Pangea and certain land masses breaking off, lend credence to at least there being a possibility of an Atlantis. Not necessarily that it's an advanced civilization, but that it could happen. That there was this weird
Well, you're saying realistically that there may not be a chance. But see, everything it even talks about, everything it talks about Atlantis says it's an advanced civilization.
Yeah. Now, it could have been more advanced than the surrounding areas and then sink into the ocean. I mean, we see that with, like, parts of Egypt. Like, they'll find an underwater or something that's been under the River Nile for a long time, So, sure, on Atlantis. And each one of those people that was surveyed probably doesn't have the same ideal of Atlantis as the other ones. Now, the ghost thing, that's the one that gets me. I mean, I don't know if ghosts... I'm on the fence about ghosts and paranormal activity. Yeah, I've had weird experiences, but... And then the aliens, yeah, we should all be at the point where we believe aliens exist.
See, I have to argue with you here. Just a little bit, as I choked on my gum, which is wrong, but hey, it's 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but see, it doesn't make any sense to believe in Atlantis and ghosts and other monsters, but not believe in Bigfoot. Because is it more plausible or provable? No. I mean, you can't, really, it kind of goes either way. Because everything that you bring up as far as evidence, whether it's Atlantis, ghost, or Bigfoot, can all be disputed. And it usually is. But, I mean, what's more likely, right? Or I guess what I don't understand is why people don't necessarily look at it as being likely that a large, possibly unknown species or primate, if you look at it that way, it could be living in the woods that we just haven't found yet.
Isolation. I mean, the people who were surveyed are not exposed to rural areas or mountainous areas.
Okay, none of those are outliers that you can consider.
I could.
Well, no, you can't because there's no real.
What gets me is
why. I guess I don't understand why you would go and make the leap towards aliens, UFOs, right? But not believe in Bigfoot. Only 16% of the people believe in Bigfoot. Because
I think a majority of the people in this have more exposure to information about ghosts, Atlantis, and aliens than they do Bigfoot.
I don't think so. Not in these days, because, there's so many Bigfoot shows on TV, and the Ancient Alien Things is on TV. It's very popular. And you hear about Bigfoot all the time. And I think there's actually more evidence to support a large, mysterious, unseen, or unknown primate cruising through the woods than there actually is to be able to prove UFOs and Atlantis.
Yeah, but if you look at those Bigfoot shows and the demographic that they try to reach.
Well, it doesn't matter about that. Sure, it's just that it's out there, it's known. You would think that just by the popularity of these shows would drag people into it and they would be more open to the idea or more aware of the idea and would probably like it more than just 16% of the people that they actually surveyed. It doesn't make sense to me.
I do think 16% is a little low.
I do think it's kind of crazy that you'd believe in UFOs and ghosts, but not believe in Bigfoot.
So I find it more weird that they would not believe in Bigfoot but believe in ghosts. That's mine.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's still...
I'm fully on board with ancient aliens in Atlantis, but I'm not as on board about ghosts and Bigfoot. You know?
I don't know.
And that's, I don't know.
But you know what, though? Out of all that stuff, you know what scares people the most?
What?
Government corruption. Yeah. So a corrupt government scares more people than coming face to face with a ghost or a monster or a Bigfoot. That's actually pretty sad.
Wow.
Yeah.
That, and I think the quantity or the quality of proof or evidence would probably affect
Lots of
these
footprints
people.
out there.
True, but the way in which it's presented again.
So are you alluding to the fact that a lot of people that do research into these fields and the 4TN fields maybe don't come across as being credible?
Not the people who do research, the people who present.
A lot of researchers present.
So,
As a matter of fact, a lot of researchers, most presenters are researchers because...
or exhibit some of the evidence in
Yeah,
the way in
well,
which it's exhibited.
You know,
Plus-
some of these people, they just look super crazy. You wouldn't want to hang out with them, I guess, necessarily, unless you're it really... I mean, because when you see some of these... Okay, look at... What's his name? Georgie Tsakalous's hair.
Hashtag, I don't know, therefore aliens, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I mean...
But,
So, hold on. When you see these people and they're talking about this sort of thing with the big crazy necklaces and, you know, this sort of persona that they got going on, I mean, I can see where just somebody who's not really interested in any of this stuff at all, maybe not too familiar, would look at these people and go, those people are just kind of weird.
but
So I don't know if I believe what they're saying.
he has crazy hair. He has Einstein-level hair, but they have him in a suit and tie in a
Well, he has himself in a suit and tie.
in a warmly lit room to make him seem as though he is an not as seem, but to present him as an educated figure.
Yeah, which makes it even worse.
True, but
Okay, so it's like taking, you know, you're in,
that's the way things are presented.
you know, a red leather chair, smoker's library,
Yeah.
right? But you're wearing a clown suit.
And it works.
It's out of place.
It works, unfortunately.
I don't think it works. I actually think it lends more to the fact that it makes people look out of place, makes them look weird and less credible.
Okay, so it's the scenario where if you have less...
It's like a flower growing out of the sidewalk. It doesn't belong. It's weird. It's strange. It may be cool looking.
But my argument is, so that is more credible to me and probably to some other people than some of the Bigfoot shows. Now, granted, if Les Stroud, because he has built a reputation and credibility as an outdoorsman and being in...
He's not an outdoorsman. He is a survivor man.
True, survivor man. So he has put himself in a scenario and he has that history and credibility built up where if he were to go, I've had these Bigfoot encounters. Oh, okay, I will listen to this person's evidence. Because they've already built up this whole thing. Granted, Soklos, they've built up a visual aid to try to lend him credibility.
Yeah, but see, I don't think it necessarily lends him credibility. I think it just draws attention to him where he's this weird, eccentric, sort of quirky looking guy.
Yeah.
And so you're drawn to that and drawn to what he's saying because he is weird and quirky looking, which is like most paranormal investigators, most UFO investigators. Most of these people are sort of weird and quirky in certain ways. That's like when we go do, you know, ghost investigations, paranormal investigations, and by the end of the night, your hair looks all super crazy because you've been running around. What do we have? Hashtag paranormal hair don't care.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the same sort of thing.
But see, that's also my
Now,
problem.
the only one I thought who had real credibility, and then some people will argue about this, was Stanton Friedman. You know,
Yeah.
basically, you know, people like that, and they have a tendency to have that look. I mean, he had that sort of substitute teacher educator look going on, but I don't know. Anyway, we're going to move on from that because there's no point in talking about it anymore, except for your millennial logic doesn't work.
You're wrong.
No, you were wrong. Guess who's wrong, everybody?
You are.
Omi's wrong.
Nope. I'm
Yeah.
right.
Oh, if
'Cause I
by
could
right
go in
you
a-
mean being incorrect, then you are correct.
Go into a whole diatribe about
Yeah, but it wouldn't make any sense because
paranormal and Bigfoot shows. If
No.
you just show a bunch of people running around in their environment with reactionary...
that's what the shows are. They have to do something
That
because
doesn't build
we've gone
credibility.
out and run around the woods and not seen anything at all, and a lot of that stuff happens that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, that's kind of how it is. You don't see stuff all all the time. And somebody says, if they ever say, I go out all the time, I see stuff every time I go out there. Either A, they're looking for stuff that's not there and seeing stuff that's not there, a little paranoia going on, or B, they're lying, or C, maybe they're lucky like that. But nobody ever sees everything when they go out there. And not everything is a freaking wood structure in the woods. Oh, see that? See the way those trees cross each other? Bigfoot did that. Come on, man. Wind works. Now, there are intricate structures out there that are obviously made, maybe constructed, not just a natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you look, man, you can see it. If you're really looking for it, you can see it.
Plus, Mother Nature does more weird things than we give it credit for.
Sure. And we see stuff all the time on Facebook. Even in our own group sometimes when people post pictures, it's like, you see this shadow? It's a Bigfoot. It's a shadow. It's a bush. It doesn't... sadly, until somebody sees something and is able to capture some sort of clear video or an image of it, that's the way it's always going to be. But the problem with this is the moment that somebody catches super clear video or an image, they're going to say it's fake because it's a super clear video and it's, they're used to seeing it. So there's really a no-win with this sort of thing until there's a body, right?
Yeah.
And it's proven that, yes, it's a body that doesn't necessarily exist in our strain of humanosity.
Which is the number one argument for some of these people. There's no Bigfoot bodies. So.
Well, there's a very few bear bodies, too. And if these things are sort of in the human line there, right, in the same sort of, existence of us in general, with humans and all that stuff, because I can't think of, like, Australopithecus. I can't think of the different, like Neanderthal and all that stuff. I can't think of the hominoid species lines. But anyway, they would probably bury them.
Yeah.
Or eat them.
Ew.
They eat each other. Who knows? Right? So we don't know. Okay, so that was our interesting random factoid. And we also have another one for you. Last year we watched a series called Hellier. It came on TV. We seen it. It was 5 episodes. We watched the first one, got hooked, watched all 5. Thought it was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Liked the way it was filmed.
Yes.
The colors were nice. It was put together nice. It had a story. It drew us in. We watched it. And then it ended. And we're like, wow. And then we found out there's a season 2. And season 1 is really just sort of the teaser to season 2.
Yeah.
So we're like super excited. And we're like, man, that's going to be cool. I wonder when that's coming out. Well, it's coming out. It's in November. It starts basically Black Friday, which is Friday, if you're listening to this tomorrow or today or whenever. Now, there's a couple different ways you can watch this show. Hellier. Season 2. If you have Amazon Prime, all the episodes, I believe, are going to stream on Amazon. I don't know if they're going to cost anything. But, with Amazon Prime Video, you can actually watch them. And then I believe that if you don't have it, they will show up like in December, other places. But the whole point of it is, if you want to watch a well put together documentary, right, with some interesting subject matter, especially if you believe in this kind of thing at all or have an interest in it, I would watch it. I would watch season 1 for free right now and then pick up and watch season 2.
Yeah.
If you go to CreepGeeks.com, we actually have a link. So we have a link to a free trial for Amazon Prime if you don't have it, and you can always cancel it, within the 30 days, and you're not going to be charged anything. Or you can go to hellier.tv. We have all the links there to where you can actually watch season 1.
And in the show notes.
And in the show notes, it's there as well. And all of our show notes and everything we talk about on the podcast actually pops up on CreepGeeks.com, so you can kind of, follow along there. But yeah, you can kind of click the link and watch along. If you don't have Amazon Prime, use the free link. Click it, get your free trial, and watch it. We're excited. We're going to watch it. We're going to find a place to download because we live out in the sticks and our internet is garbage because it's satellite garbage internet.
Don't know how you really feel.
Satellite, man, I mean, it's for what we do, being content creators, it's garbage, and it has really sort of really hampered us in making content.
Did you know North Carolina got sued and they had to pass some sort of thing saying, yes, I guess we consider internet a utility and a necessity?
It is absolutely asinine to not consider the internet a utility.
Yeah.
I can understand, if you're in the traditional sense where you look at like media is newspapers and TV and radio, right?
Yeah.
Utilities are power, electric, and sewage and water. Yeah, that was from like the 80s, man. It's 2019. You have the entire library of humanity's history and knowledge available on the internet. They use it for education. Everybody uses the internet. I mean, it is what it is, and it's absolutely stupid to look at the internet as not being a utility.
Yeah.
Because I would gladly give up power in the house to have super blazing fast internet.
Right now, yes.
Absolutely. Like, you know, if you had to give up power, if it was like give up cable television for internet, what would you do?
Are you kidding?
Easy choice. We
Yeah.
did that in 2008. We're like, hey, let's cut the cord because we can stream, bro. It's stupid. And a lot of schools required for education, stuff like that, where they say, oh, you can log in here. Colleges, there's online classes. You can, doctor's appointments. I mean, I don't have to list all the millions of things you can do with the internet. And for
Basic
a
essentials.
state to go, oh, that's not really that important, just tells me exactly what kind of
This is a rural
dipshittery.
region with a lack of doctors. New Mexico has doctors you can visit online in a video chat.
Well, you can
but-
visit any doctor online in a video chat if they have that capability. The problem is that if your state doesn't support internet, you'll never know
Yeah.
because you won't be able to.
I told that
So,
to somebody we know,
you're like,
and
"What?"
her mind was blown. She's
Yeah,
like,
it's like-
wait, what? I could go and do
You
a
can-
video chat for my bronchitis right now?
Yeah,
I'm
your
like,
strep
yeah.
throat, and hey, stick your tongue up to the webcam. Let's see what you got going on there. Nope,
Yeah.
not going to do that here. So anyway, I'm glad they got sued for it because it's been a real bone of contention with me. And satellite is garbage internet. And there's going to be people out there that go, satellite's just fine when you don't have the infrastructure and you can't actually get internet, which just tells me that you don't know what good internet is and you're putting up with it. Because, oh, there's no other alternative, so I'll be happy with what I got. And you know what? I'm good for doing that for most things, not with internet. It's 2019. I can pay you with a text message. I should be able to have internet.
Yeah.
And satellite's garbage. And I understand if we didn't have satellite, we'd have no internet at all. But you know what? It's like, oh, hold on. It's 7 o'clock. There's going to be more people trying to use the satellite internet. Let's slow everything down.
Yeah.
They're beaming internet from space. Why does it slow down? It's stupid. It slowed down when you had dial-up because there was a lot of physical, connections being made over phone lines that didn't necessarily support it. Right, the baud
Yeah.
rate would slow way down. We can't get it at 57. Can't get it at 57K. Let me jump down to 28.8 or whatever. This is coming from the freaking sky. We're being blasted with the wonderful rays of the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, but no. Satellite's going to slow it all down. Oh, you used over like 5 gigs in a month? Let's slow you way down.
What is
And
this?
they act like
2002?
Yeah, they act like, oh, well, 20 gigs, that's a lot in a month. It's like, hold on. No, it's not. It's
No.
nothing. It's just silly. It's asinine. And if you have satellite internet, I'm with you, man. The struggle is real.
20 gigs.
Yeah.
That
And if
is
you're
one
our
S-
satellite, if you're our satellite internet provider right now, your service is garbage.
20 gig is smaller than the SD card in my camera right now.
Of course it is, but no. Hey, man,
Yeah.
we're going to give you these amazing fast downloads, and we're going to give you a 4 megabyte upload. 4. I mean, we have to turn everything that uses the internet off in the house to upload this podcast. Or walk out into a freaking cornfield where there's cellular service. It's an
A half
amazing
mile away.
2G
Half mile
cell
away.
phone service uploads faster than our garbage satellite.
Yeah.
And so there you go. Imagine trying to download movies to play on your little iPad for Johnny Rotten Snot-Nosed little kid to keep them occupied before they eat the turkey and stuff. Nope, you're not going to do that here.
Yeah.
Nope.
All this to complain about how bad we want to watch Hellier.
That's not
Too.
even it. It's
I
just
know.
I go off on this rant because it's like, oh, hey, let's go. Okay, make sure everything in the house that has Wi-Fi capability or internet capability or connectivity options at all, make sure that's all put in airplane mode or unplugged and turned off so we can get that blistering fast 4 megabyte upload.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So anyway, satellite's garbage. Let's move on.
And we really want to see Hellier too.
Yeah, but no, you should watch Hellier season 1, and then when season 2 streams this week, maybe you'll be interested in it. Because there's a couple set of filmmakers that are making these movies, these documentaries and stuff that I really enjoy, right? Small Town Monsters for sure. And these guys,
Planet Weird
in general. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of, they do, I think, a really good job. So I appreciate the efforts that they make or have made, even though their styles are different. That's okay. They're worth watching.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I was gonna think of another one.
No,
Yeah.
moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on. So anyway, Hellier Season 2 comes out. You should watch it. Americans believe in everything but Bigfoot, and they're scared of the government. And we're just kind of moving in, and we're going to talk about a user submission that we got.
Yeah.
From our CreepGeeks website. From a contact form.
Yep.
Right. So you can go to creepgeeks.com. There's a contact form. This is from Ben G, November 18th. He said it's a very lengthy story, but he's not going to tell it. So he just gave us a little synopsis.
Yeah.
And then wants us to give him a call.
How?
Which is kind of, yeah, it's like there was no phone number attached, but that's okay. There wasn't one. Anyway,
Yeah.
So the story kind of goes like this. May 18th, 2005, I lived on Highway 80 past the coffee shop. Now, we know where this is. It probably doesn't matter to you, but it's local and there's a coffee shop.
But it starts to head out to nowhere.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
This person had an encounter of being paralyzed, telepathic communication with two entities in the room, missing time, etc. It was life-changing. The most intense UFO experience of my life, and I have seen them in the area for my whole life. I was 23. I reached out to MUFON, and they sent a field investigator to meet me. We met at the library in Morganton, North Carolina, and they documented my encounter. Would love to tell you all the details in person. The story is way too long to type, and we appreciate that, Ben G. And we will reach out to you and see what we can do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of weird because when you start to head towards that coffee shop, you also start to head towards another UFO hotbed in this area. So.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
It kind of explains.
Yeah.
You know. Well, we don't know. I mean, who knows? The area is pretty large, but the area in general, UFO activity happens. So, Thanksgiving is for suckers. And if you're working, you can't be home for the holidays, or you think Thanksgiving is for suckers, we totally understand. We also appreciate the struggle. The struggle is real.
Yeah.
If you're serving in our country's defense, we appreciate it. We understand. We get it. And we also understand there's a lot of people that don't necessarily like Thanksgiving. So if you are feeling a little bah humbug because you have to work, let's tell you why it sucks.
Okay.
Yeah. First off, it's a controversial holiday.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't seem to like it. And what better way to find out why Thanksgiving is awful than to kind of get it from a website that's not American? Right? So we went to the independent.co.uk.
Yeah.
Who basically, I think it was this fun fact, posted one of my videos a long time ago and got me interested in YouTube.
Huh.
Yeah, remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Was it the Independent?
Yes.
I think it was. It was the Independent. They actually posted one of my videos. A user of the website posted one of my videos in a response section about a really boring soccer match. And said, I would rather watch this guy paint a Coleman Camp grill than watch your stupid it was basketball. Watch your stupid basketball game. And like 11,000 people watched that video in the comment section of the Independent.
Oh, gosh.
And I woke up with this email alert from YouTube saying, hey, one of your videos has 11,000 views. And it was at that point I knew I had broke the internet. Like, look at that.
When was this?
I don't know, 2006 or something like that. It was a long time ago. But I was like, what? No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it began a little bit of a thing, and here we are today. And we're doing this podcast from doing all the content. We've kind of got to this point.
Yeah.
It's at this point that I have to say that Thanksgiving is considered by some to be a national day of mourning.
That's a very abrupt
it's true,
way
though.
I know, it's a very shocking way for a non-U.S. site to word it, I guess. National Day of Mourning.
Not really. They don't care. So
Yeah.
they're like, hey, there's a lot of people in your own country that, look towards, okay, so you have a holiday that's actually steeped pretty heavily in cultural appropriation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a period of a history in America. It's frequently what they call whitewashed, which means that, hey, let's go ahead and cleanse all the unpleasantness out of the story
Yeah.
and teach it to the kids. So it can be definitely considered a national day of mourning,
Yeah.
because, you have Native Americans and colonists that basically have embellished this narrative of pilgrims and the natives looking past their differences to break bread, when realistically it wasn't necessarily that way at all,
Yeah.
right? And so if you look at the indication of moral progress in the United States to be the replacement of Thanksgiving Day and its self-indulgent family feasting with a national day of atonement accompanied by a self-reflective collective fasting.
Wow.
That's according to Robert Jensen of the University of Texas at Austin. It kind of makes sense in a couple different ways, because if you go back to the Pilgrim times and the Quaker times, and this goes back when they're all still over in Europe, they did that. They went through periods of feasting and fasting.
Yeah.
Right? And that sort of tradition carried its way over to the New World, and they did the same thing, feasting and fasting. But, when you're taught Thanksgiving in school, and basically in school, right, crafts and drawings and all that sort of thing, you're kind of taught that everybody got together and shared a meal. And that's not necessarily the case at all. You kind of look at the Native Americans, and the way the natives have been treated since we've kind of come across has not been good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the whole, and so, it's got to. We even have the kids make like Native American headdresses and stuff,
Or the plays that you have to put on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it. It's basically an accurate historical reference that we basically perpetuate every year.
And it's so steeped, though. I mean, if we were to go along with this professor's suggestion of,
Doing a National Day of Atonement
and self-reflective collective
Yeah.
fasting,
Now,
what would
here's-
happen to Black Friday,
Well, Black Friday would happen no matter what,
That's,
because whether people like it or not, this country is built on capitalism.
Yeah.
And now here's where I'm going to say something that's probably going to make people angry. We should just keep celebrating Thanksgiving. Let's take all the pilgrim stuff out of it or whatever, because when you get older and you have kids that kind of grow out of that sort of thing, or they whatever, it's just about getting together and being thankful for what you have. Now we have sort of changed it to where it's also about buying stuff for Christmas and all of that garbage, but a lot of that stuff, okay, so we're looking, let's go back to like the Pilgrim times in 1623 and look at the history and how terrible things were. I know, I get it. Terrible things happened in the past, right?
mm-hmm.
And they can still be happening today to a certain degree, but it is 2019, and honestly, man, I can't carry that burden, and I'm not gonna.
Okay.
And people they say that, oh, your ancestors, what do you think about that? It's like, well, you know what? I didn't know them all. Times change. I'm sure I had some caveman ancestors, probably ate somebody. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't control that stuff. So I don't have that sort of guilt built into me, because I know the struggle is real, man.
Yeah.
We're all struggling. But the Wampanoag Indians in 1621 in Plymouth, Massachusetts, they were all about the first Thanksgiving. That's what we say, right? For our
Yeah.
national 3-day celebration between the Pilgrims and the Indians. That's what they call them, the Wampanoag Indians, the natives,
Yeah.
right? So they're supposed to got together and they signed a mutual protection treaty the spring before, and the feast was supposed to be in honor of the successful first harvest. And so, but from the Pilgrims' point of view, the first Thanksgiving that was meant to be set aside, a day basically for prayer and worship, took place in July of 1623 by William Bradford, who was a governor,
Yeah.
who declared that was the first day of Thanksgiving, like the first, like we're going to declare Thanksgiving to give thanks.
Yeah.
It was to give thanks for the rain that ended the drought that saved our harvest. And, we also have the view that basically Thanksgiving took place a few years earlier in 1619 in Virginia, as in Jamestown, Virginia, which is where we're from. Virginia, not Jamestown. So when I went to school, even though this whole thing is technically wrong,
Yeah.
I was all like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense, because, you go up to Massachusetts, they were all about, we have the first thing. It's like, no, you don't have the first Thanksgiving, dude.
I will say there's a reoccurring theme.
Yeah.
All three of those had starving colonists
Yes.
who didn't know how to survive out in
And
the
the
new
natives
world.
were poorly treated, and they
Yeah.
got what they deserved.
What?
They did. They broke arrangements. They basically, fought warring. They basically brought war to the natives and sickness and everything else. So why would the natives keep hanging around? They pulled back, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from
Oh, I
day
thought
one.
I thought you said the natives broke the rules.
No.
Okay, yeah.
No.
I'm like, no.
I mean, I might have. That's not what I meant to say.
Yeah.
But
No.
yeah. So,
Yeah, weren't they like super mean up north to them? Like, kind of pushed them out of their
well,
territory.
I don't think it's
Well,
just up
I mean,
north. I think
yeah.
it's just in general.
But
They were looked at as being savages and all that terrible
but
stuff.
then,
and they were treated,
they're savages, but
awfully.
we're starving.
yeah, oh, please help us kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was, and basically it wasn't until 1863 that President Abraham Lincoln established the regular tradition of observing days of national Thanksgiving.
Wow.
So I mean, even Washington, right? George Washington said it too. Thanksgiving 1795. He had President John Adams, James Madison. They did the same, and they kind of said it
Yeah.
to make sure it was sort of an ongoing thing. But Lincoln did it officially, and it kind of goes on. But it's a terrible holiday, actually, because if you look at how the natives have been treated since the time that we've been here until even now, they have not been treated well, and it's embarrassing. It's a shame, and it shouldn't have happened, but it did happen.
Yeah.
It's still kind of ongoing, right?
Yeah.
So why do we celebrate it? Because we don't care, I guess.
That's a horrible way to put
Well,
it.
you know why we
Yeah.
don't care? Because it's the whole thing has been sort of, let's take all the awful stuff out of it,
Yeah.
right? And let's just basically whitewash it. Is pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
And you can talk about this for hours, and we're not gonna.
Yeah.
And so we understand this is a high level overview of the terrible situation.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like Columbus Day. Why do we celebrate Columbus Day? Hey, thanks for bringing venereal disease to the to the new world, right? So. I mean, that's one thing. But it's true, though.
And
Thanks for
killing
bringing
thousands.
sickness and pestilence with you,
Yeah.
But, yeah. So not everybody likes the idea of a national Thanksgiving holiday, and I would have to agree.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. Am I going to stop celebrating it? No. I'm going to keep celebrating,
Oh, there's.
I mean, you got to look at it as being like, hey, let's celebrate. Let's be thankful for what we have, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, let me give you 25 reasons why Thanksgiving is our least favorite holiday. We're not going to give you 25 of them, but
Yeah.
so the history is screwed up. So the first Thanksgiving took place, according to what they say, is 1637 Massachusetts colony, right?
Yeah.
And basically, Governor John Winthrop celebrated the safe return of colonial hunters who had just massacred 700 Pico Indians.
Oh, see how? Yeah.
See,
up
there you
north.
go. See how it's getting bad, right?
Yeah.
And here's another reason why Thanksgiving is bad. We like turkey, but chicken is actually better, way better than turkey. You know why?
Why?
It's not all dried out, man.
That's true.
We waste a whole lot of food on Thanksgiving, for sure.
Yeah.
And it talks about how leftovers are basically turned into food waste. Well, you know what? I got news for you, man. That's not food waste. There are lots of people that eat off those Thanksgiving leftovers for a while. So if you've ever been single and divorced, you've had Thanksgiving leftovers in your fridge, especially if your family felt sorry for you.
Or
It
a
would bring you
broke
some-
college student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily look at it as being waste, because usually it gets ate.
Freaking weeks worth of turkey soup.
Heck yeah,
Yeah.
you eat stuffing, and he's like, stuffing is kind of green. Is it supposed to be green? Going for it anyway, right? Now, it's embarrassing that Black Friday sucks, because, I mean, it's awful, right? But it is a big sales day, and you're trying to buy all this stuff, and we are capitalists, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And so we're supposed to be giving thanks, but it seems like the holiday has turned into, let's eat real good and go shopping.
And this little tidbit has a link to blackfridaydeathcount.com.
Yeah. Black Friday death count, 10 people killed, 105 injured. It's a horrifying display of greed and consumerism.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's awesome. Not that people got hurt or whatever, but I think it's awesome to keep track
12
of it.
deaths and 117 injuries.
And here's another one too for all you sports ball guys. You're forced to watch football. I'm not a sports ball guy. So when people are like, hey, let's sit down and watch football before Thanksgiving starts, it's like, I'd rather go out and cut the grass.
Actually, we've done that a couple times.
Yep. It's like, I'm going to go cut the grass. And that's like, I like Philip DeFranco's shirt. So he has a shirt that says sports on it. So that way you can celebrate your team or celebrate whatever sporting event you're at when you don't really like sports or are not familiar with it. Just sports.
Yeah.
It's like, they sportsed better than we did, and they were out there sportsing. Yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So also another reason to not necessarily like Thanksgiving, if you're doing the whole family scene, you get interrogated by the family at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you?
Yeah. So
How are
you
things?
didn't bring anybody with you,
Yeah.
or hey, how come you? It's like just don't ask me stupid questions, right?
That you already know the
Yeah,
answers.
it's like you know the answer. Why are you bringing it up?
Yeah.
Travel sucks.
Oh yeah.
It's awful to travel during Thanksgiving, whether you're driving or flying. You know, people are trying to do the same thing, and the airports are jammed, the lines are crazy, TSA and a bunch of aggressive genital padding. It's just one of those things which doesn't make it any fun for anybody.
Yeah.
Roads are awful. Cops are like, let's give some tickets. And then so you driving on the road, minding your own business, going 79 in a 42, and you get a ticket.
Yeah.
It's awful. Plus, you got to schedule stuff around. You may have to work. You wind up eating so much you hate yourself. And that's never happened to me. I eat so much I hate that my pants don't fit. That's when I call out.
Tap out.
No. Oh, Omi, bring me my eating trousers.
Shut up.
So you got to have, when you get older, you have to have priorities. I have fighting trousers, eating trousers. That's it so far. That's all I
Okay,
got.
that's it. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, another reason why Thanksgiving's terrible is you have to interact with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that can be, I mean, some families are worse than others for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if they beat you. I'm just saying. Some people, hey man, as soon as they got old enough, they got out. So I mean, that's not the case in our family. It's just kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
And here's something else that makes it terrible. You have to watch that stupid Macy's Day Thanksgiving parade thing.
Which gets longer and longer each year
Yeah.
because they have a pre-show like it's a sports ball game.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't care. I just want to see this one
And it
balloon.
happens early. It's like, I used to try to get up early and watch that stupid parade thing.
Yeah, when I was 9. So
well,
yeah.
that happens. Yeah.
Oh, here's my favorite. If you don't plan way ahead, you'll be faced with insanity at the grocery store.
Yeah, for sure. People are like, fighting you over bread. And
The
bread
entire time I've
stuffing.
been alive, I've had to go to the store before Thanksgiving mostly every year.
Yeah.
And it has been panic-inducing.
Yeah.
So-
I try not to go.
Yeah.
I don't not go anywhere at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
and if we had good internet, we could stay home because we could use things like DoorDash or whatever.
I don't even know what that is. I don't have any internet.
Yeah. We'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, somebody else can go pick up the stuffing for us.
Yeah.
But
if,
no.
if I was smart or something like that, we would just go watch movies. But then I have the anxiety that comes about from paying $50 for 2 people to go see a movie.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Mhm.
Yeah, so and also Thanksgiving's it's a tough time for vegans and vegetarians.
And people in general.
Yeah.
So
Well, vegans and vegetarians, what you supposed to eat, man? I mean,
you can't even eat like Dave's stuffing because
It's like,
even his
oh,
stuffing was
you got mashed
weird.
potatoes, great. Did you mix it with chicken broth? Well, of course I did. That's what makes mashed potatoes taste good. I'm out.
Yeah.
Got animal in it.
Green beans.
Yeah.
Oh, the green beans were
Ooh,
cooked with butter.
Yeah, and butter's made from the butter animal.
Does this cranberry have real jelly or gelatin in it?
Yeah, it's
Oop.
made from horses' hooves. So another thing that's terrible about Thanksgiving, somebody always makes a Jell-O salad, adds garbage to it.
You know what? I like those.
Not when it's got a bunch of trash in it. Like, who puts grapes in Jell-O? It's always just a weird thing. You're like,
Raisins.
Is that a freaking grape or is that a bad part of the Jell-O?
Raisins.
Yeah, raisins.
And nuts
Yeah.
was the worst.
It's like, why would you do that to Jell-O?
Yeah.
Why don't you just put some meat in it? You come across like I have a hot dog Jell-O.
You mean like those 1950s dinners?
Yeah. Like, oh, you could put and make it clear too, so you could just see the little hot dogs just stuck in the same stuff that makes fossils.
Yeah.
Was it amber? What's that stuff called? Garbage is what it's called. Right. Thanksgiving desserts are the worst. Now, I have to disagree with this because, this thing says, let's be real, nobody likes pecan pie. I'll fight you in the yard right now. I like pecan pie because to me, pumpkin pie tastes like sweat, and I don't want it.
Well, okay.
Because you think, oh, it's going to be delicious. Like, it should be like a solid kind of pie, but it's not.
No.
It's like eating a pie that's not done all the way.
No.
It's gross. I'd rather have sweet potato pie over
I
pumpkin pie.
will concede on this one because me growing up, you know what we had for dessert for Thanksgiving?
Rice.
Close. My dad would always get an egg custard pie.
What is that? It doesn't have any taste.
It has a taste. It tastes like spoiled custard to me. And
Gross.
I love my dad.
That's why yogurt tastes like throw up to me. I don't want it.
It was his.
Gross.
It's one of his favorite pies.
Yeah, so I'll fight you in the parking lot when it comes to pecan pie. So, yeah. And, hey, it gets cold. And then here's my favorite. There's always somebody or someone who inappropriately dresses like a Native American. And that's offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you dress up like a Native American, not only is it cultural appropriation, but why would you do it on Thanksgiving, which is not necessarily the best time?
Yeah.
I will say, the first time that I realized that Thanksgiving maybe wasn't as celebrated or wasn't as a happy, joyous sort of time was when I was watching this show about this doctor who went to Alaska. It was real popular for like in the 80s. I can't think of what it was called now. It went right out of my head.
Wings?
No, man. Wings was not. Wings. They were up north. They were like on a little island. They were. No, but it had the doctor who was from New York City. He went to Alaska. And it had a couple characters in there. And basically for Thanksgiving, one of the natives, like the Inuits, I think they were, or the Eskimo lady, I can't remember exactly what she was, walked up to somebody else and basically threw a pie in their face.
Oh.
And said, "This is for what you did to my ancestors." And so the cop was a lady, and he was freaking out. The doctor says he'd never seen that before. He's like, "Are you going to do anything?" He said, "No, this is what we do." That's going to bug me now. I have to remember what that show is called.
And that was your first clue?
Yeah, I was a little bit older, Well, I mean, to be honest, if you're not taught any of that stuff in school necessarily, you don't really think about it or know about it. And where we are in Virginia, we have native history and all of like Captain John Smith and Pocahontas and, Powhatan, or some people say Powhatan and all that stuff. We're really not taught much more past that.
No, we're not.
So, I mean, it was completely sort of, and we weren't even taught our own history for a lot of things. Like they didn't teach colonial history to the extent that it did when I went to school.
Yeah.
We burned witches, man. Think about that.
And see, when I was going to school, they really focused on that.
But we didn't talk about it. Because Halloween is when you learned about all that stuff. They would tell scary stories and stuff about, how the colonists and, the one thing they didn't tell you about was how the colonists in Jamestown have some of the first documented cases of cannibalism.
Yeah.
In the New World, because they kind of made the natives mad. So the natives kind of left. Yeah. And since these people were not equipped, they weren't necessarily hunters or anything like that, or farmers and all that. So they were more like business people. And they, made the people angry that were helping them survive, the natives who were, from the area and who basically had huge land that they claimed and owned, right? Because, Powhatan, or Powhatan as I like to call him, had a huge kingdom.
Yeah.
But anyway, they made them very angry, and so they said, "Okay, well, we got 2 words for you. Bye-bye." And they left, and these people, the colonists, basically, turned to eating each other, because during some of the archaeological digs, they were trying to figure out how come they didn't run across, like, leather and things like that. Things that show up in the
bone.
Yeah. Things that show up in the garbage heap, Yeah. They didn't have that, and they were trying to figure it out. And what they found out was, because they had some records.
Dogs.
Yeah, that, there were some crimes that were committed. Like one guy had a wife who was and she was marked as being a large woman, and she wasn't seen for a while because the dude ate her. Yeah, because she died and he ate her. Yeah. It was
And that was after going through things like their shoes, their belts, their hats.
Yes. Anything you could eat. They starved.
Yeah.
So.
Before they resorted to eating each other.
Yeah. So it wasn't like, I haven't eaten in a couple of days. It was like, we're coming up on weeks. Plus they got sick. They didn't, their water was bad. It was just a bad time to be a colonist, man.
Well, yeah,
so
Virginia is a swamp.
Well, yeah.
So. Yeah.
Well, and the natives would basically showed you how to purified water and stuff, but why? Hey, you don't need to pay attention to them. They haven't been living there for thousands of years, right? So those were some more factoids or reasons why, tongue in cheek, if you will, why Thanksgiving was terrible.
Man,
25's additional holidays. So it was controversial. There's reasons to not like it. Everything you basically learn about Thanksgiving is wrong.
Yeah.
But hey, we still do it. And, you know, one of the things you have to do is get out there and travel normally. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, imagine traveling and you're out there and you got your family in the car, the family mobile, and you're traveling through the desert and your car breaks down and you run across an atomic family of defectives, right? And they're basically going to eat you, kill you. They made a movie about that.
Really?
Yeah. I call them defectives. These defective people, right?
Okay.
Out in the desert, you know, probably exposed to the nuclear radiation. They all had some problems and stuff, interbreeding and all that kind of nasty junk.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's called The Hills Have Eyes. Yeah. Well, you know the scary thing about The Hills Have Eyes is?
What?
And this is, I put it in here because people traveling. It's based on a true story.
Oh.
Yes. So, all I'm going to tell you about The Hills Have Eyes is that, you know, okay, so in the late 70s, Wes Craven, you know, struggling filmmaker, who was only made, you know, anyway, he was doing his thing. He was itching to branch out and make other kind of movies.
Yeah.
And he could only find financing for horror movies because he did a movie called The Last House on the Left, this was 1972. It was actually pretty decent sort of scary movie there.
Yeah.
So he agreed to make a movie about a group of hill people savaging a vacationing family.
Oh.
Yeah. So they were trying to figure out how to do it. So he was on a tight budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened is he got a hold of somebody and said, hey, you need to make a horror movie. But so they came up with the idea, since it was based off a true story, of the Sawney Bean,
Mm-hmm.
who was the head, I should say, of a wild Scottish clan who murdered, cannibalized numerous people during the Middle Ages.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, Craven had heard about the Bean clan, and he noted that the road near where they lived was believed to be haunted because people kept disappearing, right? So these people, you know, would stay away from here like, oh, don't go there, it's haunted. Yeah, it was haunted by these defectives jumping in there and grabbing people and eating them.
Oh, wow.
So Craven adapted the story to be out in the atomic desert. I always call it atomic desert because the desert, you know, hey, man, bombs.
Yeah.
Where nuclear bombs were tested out there. And so, you know, since it kind of made sense, he just changed it and sort of adapted that story to be about a group of wild people in the American West. And that's how they got The Hills Have Eyes. Yep. So, I mean, you know, the desert, Las Vegas, Nevada, lots of atomic bombs were happening. Probably some defectives living out there in the woods.
Oh.
Some atomic generation. Eating people. Travel. That's kind of what you do, right? Thanksgiving. Maybe not the eating people part, but with Thanksgiving, you're traveling. It'd be terrible to break down. Get ate. Speaking of ate.
What?
There was a mysterious monster. A black swine.
Oh.
In London sewers. Right?
Yeah.
So you have this big black swine, or these wild animals, these pigs eating and living and thriving in the London sewers in the 18th and 19th century.
Yeah.
So, in the dank depths of the earth, thousands of miles of tunnels and sewers been built over the centuries. And so this network of sludge-filled subterranean passageways full of black nothingness. But there was rumors, man. And so some of these rumors have been basically came about by, okay, so have you ever heard the expression, you ever watch like British TV or just English TV and they talk about it, they call people toshers?
I've heard of tossers, but not toshers.
Basically it's toshers is what it is, but
okay.
you know, it's the way they say it. And it's, there are people that used to explore the sewers and find stuff in there.
Like the first urbexers or something?
No, they were down there digging around trying to find stuff.
Oh.
They would salvage anything of value that they could find that was washed down.
Oh.
Right? So they'd find like pieces of silver, cutlery, nails, like bits of copper, coins, lost jewelry, miscellaneous bits of metal and junk, all in slime. It was dangerous, thankless work and highly illegal after 1840.
Oh.
Yeah. And these men in appearance that were down there, these toshers, basically, they looked like sewer monsters.
Ugh.
Yeah, because they're basically in the poop, man. Yeah. So they may be seen, because like I said, if you look at the Surrey side of the Thames there, it's like they had these like long, greasy velveteen coats. They'd be stuffed in there. They have all sorts of like just garbage on them and stuff. So they're kind of crazy. A lot of them have like cameras.
Describing poo-poo people, and I'm
Yeah,
tuning out right now.
And so they're like these like miners that are mining through the sewage trying to find bits of value.
Yeah.
They call them toshers, so pretty terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, the story runs that, basically there was a cow, or a sow, like a baby pig, I said cow, but anyway, this cow, I guess.
Sow.
Sow, yeah.
Yeah.
Got into the sewer.
Yeah.
Right? It wandered away from this boy, got in there by accident somehow.
Yeah.
And it littered and reared off offspring into the sewer, like that's where they lived.
Yeah.
Right? And they were feeding on garbage and stuff that's continually washed into the gutter.
Ugh.
And the breed multiplied exceedingly and became almost as ferocious as they were numerous.
Yeah.
So these fierce black swine were living in the sewers, eating off of the human waste and trash and food and stuff. Basically, just the human excess.
No.
Creating a monster. Monstrous breed of black swine.
That's so gross.
Yeah. So they propagated and run wild in the slimy feculence.
That also means like
ferocious snouts.
Single bite from them could probably really.
I wouldn't even go down there, man. You're in basically the sewer line.
I know, and they're filthy.
General.
They're not. They're
full of shit
and covered in it.
Yeah.
And if you were to be bit by one or attacked by one, you'd probably die from infection.
Yeah, you probably just die from drinking water in general.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but
yeah.
The 1859 account in the Daily Telegraph.
Yeah.
Basically, this London is an amalgam of worlds within worlds, and the occurrences of every day convince us that there is not one of these worlds, but it has special mysteries and its generic crimes, exaggeration, ridicule, often attached to the vastness of London. Oh. And the ignorance of its penetralia common to us who dwell therein. It has been said that beasts of chase still roam in the verdant fastness of Grosvenor Square, that there are undiscovered patches of primeval forest in Hyde Park, and that Hampstead sewers shelter a monstrous breed of black swine which have propagated and run wild among the slimy feculence, and whose ferocious snouts will one day uproot Highgate Archway, while they make Holloway intolerable with their grunting.
Yep.
Ugh.
Terrible story.
Yes. Feculence is my new word.
It's kind of like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I had to put that in there because I thought it was kind of neat. And that actually came from Mysterious Universe. And if you want to, read feculence for your own eyes, you can certainly do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of weird to put in there, but you know what? Hey, there's better ways to celebrate Thanksgiving and all.
Yeah.
But before we do that, let's talk about more people eating people. Because why not? And this is from Live Science, a reputable science website. That's how we'll leave it. And a lot of ad blocking should be going on there. So basically, we talked about the Bean Clan eating people and people thinking that the area was haunted because people keep disappearing. Little did they know the beans are eating them, right? And so basically, let's talk about the zombie diet. Here's a couple examples of humans eating humans. So evidently, our prehistoric ancestors ate each other to certain degrees. And we're going to call those people Homo antecessor. Antecessor.
Yeah, an ancient relative of humans practiced cannibalism, likely out of practicality.
Yeah. Hey, man, you can't catch a black swine or any other animal, so what do you do?
Well, okay, if your choice is going up against a saber-toothed tiger or whatever, or going up against Bob, who's walking a little funny, you're probably going to eat Bob. So.
Gross.
Yeah.
So Neanderthals, they probably ate some people too, because some of them were cannibalistic. Right? The Biami people in New Guinea, Papua New Guinea, they ate them.
Oh.
And they were pretty well known for doing that, actually. So they kill and eat humans.
Yeah.
They probably haven't practiced cannibalism for several decades, just in case you're wondering.
Oh.
So, you know what the nickname is for human flesh if you're eating it?
What?
Long pig.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, gross, right? So anyway, the Aztec people of Mexico ate each other a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. The warrior people of Brazil. And here's where I thought was even crazier. 16th and 17th century Europeans.
Huh.
Because until the end of the 18th century, it was not uncommon for Europeans to seek out the flesh of a dead human for medicinal consumption.
What?
Yep. So basically, this guy, Paracelsus, I can't pronounce that. He was a 16th century physician. He believed the blood was healthy to drink. Yeah, so although drinking fresh blood was uncommon, people unable to afford the apothecary products, right, would stand by at executions and pay a small fee for a cup of fresh blood from the condemned.
There's a movie that depicts that, and I can't remember which one. Oh, man. That's going to bug me.
Is it Fairbanks?
No.
Fairbanks, Alaska? Was that the name of the show?
No. Oh, you're talking about that now.
Yeah, it's going to come back to me.
No.
So,
yeah.
yeah, so you get your cup of blood.
19th century Arctic explorers. And I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 19th century Franklin expedition that aimed to discover a sea route through the Canadian Arctic. Explorers from the two trap ships, the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror, attempted to trek 1,000 miles to the nearest trading post, but their efforts were futile. For the next 150 years, researchers uncovered the explorers' remains. Scientists found cut marks on many of the bones and signs of breakage and marrow extraction, convincing evidence of cannibalism.
Gross.
And then the last one, the Agori cult of India. There's like shows on these. The Agoris make up a small group of extremists who live in Varanasi, India, and worship the Hindu deity Shiva. Agoris believe that there is no difference between the pure and the impure, and engage in many obscure practices, such as meditating on top of corpses and making bowls out of human skulls.
Gross.
They also practice ritual cannibalism, according to some reports. Yeah, I think there's a pretty good Discovery documentary on them.
Gross.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Northern Exposure.
Northern Exposure.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I still want to know the name of the movie that I'm thinking of, but yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So we talked about controversial holiday. Thanksgiving is wrong. 25 reasons why Thanksgiving is wrong. Cultural appropriation. All the stuff that should make you feel better if you're working right now that you're not celebrating Thanksgiving. We talked about, basically animals eating off society and eating society, the black swine.
Yeah.
And then we also talked about people eating people. That should be a song. I don't know. Anyway, what's that song go? People are people.
What?
Yeah, we're talking about Britain and stuff, so I was thinking of new wave music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so there should be a song about people eating people. So let's talk about some ways that you can celebrate. Make some better celebratory choices when it comes to Thanksgiving, should you desire, right?
Okay.
So this is according to Time Magazine, which is probably way more, it's all right. It's better than some of the other ones that are out there. Well, some of these, like some of these websites and stuff, they look reputable, but they're kind of like maybe not so reputable. But Time's pretty reputable.
You mean they're just a way to put 50 ads on your screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you run your ad blocker, you hear your computer fire up. It's like, because it's trying to block everything. It's like, yeah. See?
Yeah.
So, okay, so there's a couple different things that you could do to celebrate, maybe a little bit different. And I do like this one story. It says, okay, so somebody would ask this question, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of goes like this. Every November, I get asked an unfortunate loaded question. You're a Native American. What do you eat on Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
And this person says, my answer spans my lifetime.
Yeah.
Born and raised on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota in the 1970s.
I have friends from there.
A member of the Oglala Lakota Sioux tribe.
Yep.
And it says, growing up, I went to a very small country school on a reservation in the poorest county in the United States.
Yeah.
Our school predominantly had Native students, but we were still taught that basically what everybody was taught about Thanksgiving.
The whitewashed history.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And it represented the time when Pilgrims and Indians celebrated together, and it was about being thankful. Only later we'd find out that it was a lie.
Yeah.
Right? And so they were taught that story about the family, and gathering together and doing all that stuff. So,
and
his family would gather together on Thanksgiving at their grandparents' ranch. They had a huge, huge feast, very typical recipes, like most right out of like the Betty Crocker cookbook from the 60s.
God, that big orange cookbook.
Yeah. And so he says, I remember the mingling smells of dishes cooking throughout the day as our moms and aunts crowded every kitchen surface preparing for a large offering. We had staples like roasted turkey, mashed potatoes, milk gravy, sweet potatoes, marshmallows, green bean casseroles. Basically the whole
The
1950s, 60s, 70s Thanksgiving kind of traditional dinner.
But on occasion, they would have Lakota dishes like taniga, which is intestine soup. And I know I'm going to really mess this one. Wahape, which is choke cherry sauce, and I've actually had that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty.
Yeah.
So it's like those are the good memories. And he said that though once his grandparents passed away, his family never celebrated holidays like that again or gathered in one place, gathered like that in one place on a reservation. And in the years since, perspective on Thanksgiving has changed at first from a sense of bitterness surrounding the real history of those lives, right? Of the lies that they were told, right? Of the actual stories that who you should honor and mourn. And then with the renewed hope for what our celebration could be if they simply changed the focus or if basically, and he's talking about them changing the focus, right?
Yeah.
And talk about the Wampanoag in 1621 who helped the first wave of Puritans arriving on the shores.
Basically
show them how to
everything
plant.
we talked about.
Yeah. How to show them how to plant crops, forage for wild, basically thrive and survive, right?
Yeah.
So if they change the way it is, because he also talks about when, President Washington first started the holiday to really sort of announce it and make it into the beginnings of a real holiday in 1789.
Yeah.
At the time, it really had nothing to do with Indians and settlers. It was basically intended to be a public day of Thanksgiving and prayer.
Yeah.
So, and, excuse me, he says the Declaration of Independence says everything you need to know about how the founders of America viewed the indigenous peoples of the land, and they were basically called merciless, savage Indians. So,
yeah,
from the perspective that he's looking at it from,
this is
if you shift the focus to
horrible.
something else, right, it should be better. And so as I'm kind of going through and kind of looking at it, I'm trying to figure out where I can find it, where they kind of shift the focus to maybe looking at some of the history and remembering the history and basically stop poisoning, the kids with this Pilgrims and Indians narrative, because they don't need any illusion of the past unity to actually basically unite people today.
And he talks a lot about
because he listed several examples of these terrible things that happen. It's like, so if you don't need the illusion of the past unity to unite people today, all you got to do is basically just change it to the values you want to focus on.
Change the narrative.
To everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, we do not need the poisonous Pilgrims and Indians narrative. We do not need that illusion of past unity to actually unify people today.
Yeah, I just said that. Yeah.
So
if you're going to focus on the values, then you got to focus on the values that apply to everybody, right? Like togetherness, generosity, gratitude.
Yeah. The other suggestion, one of the other ones, exploring the native and traditional foods.
Yeah.
We Americans spend hours outdoors collecting foods like chanterelles, morels, ramps, wild ginger, chokeberries, wild plums, crab apples, cactus fruit, pawpaws, manzanita, berries, cattails, all this stuff. Why not celebrate it with these foods too?
Yeah.
Which also is kind of awesome because you're taking out that commercialization of the holiday as well.
Yeah, but all of that stuff sounds awful when you compare it to a big old turkey bird.
I mean,
some of the stuff is there, right?
Cedar braised rabbit, which a lot of people love. Venison.
Turkey.
You can still do smoked turkey with chestnuts. Wild rice with foraged mushrooms, native squash with maple, smoked salmon, and wild teas.
Yeah, well.
So you can still have your turkey, even though there's like this random trivia fact I keep hearing floating around that the first Pilgrims may not have even had turkey at their Thanksgiving.
No.
Yeah. So, but no matter where you are in North America, you're on indigenous land. So on this holiday, at any day, I urge you to explore deeper connection into what being called American is and true Native American and American histories. And I think that's a good sentiment. So.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Focus on the values. Don't forget it.
Yeah.
Eat good food. Be thankful for what you want.
Yeah.
So that's one way you can do it. You can celebrate it that way. Another way is, don't
Yeah.
do it at all. So some people do, some people don't, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. So it's just something kind of think about. And basically, there's some recommended reading that we have that's unrelated to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But there are some haunting stories, right? Some Native American tales on reservations in rural areas. We actually have a link to that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, with this particular podcast today, we just kind of want to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving and why it sucks. Pretty much. So, but the takeaway from this whole thing is that you don't have to celebrate the whitewashed history and think about, if you're an adult, think about what it really is. At the time, it was terrible. It was terrible for what was done to the native indigenous people that have became part of the Indians and Pilgrims sort of thing. And
I mean, yeah, it was terrible.
but the idea behind giving thanks and being thankful, that really hasn't ever necessarily changed. But I would like to see it sort of corrected to maybe not,
I mean, even the last article we talked about, the author said, it was kind of a thing that his grandparents brought the whole family together.
Yeah.
As a Native American, still, they brought the whole family together, and that's awesome.
Well,
Why can't we still do that?
well, we still can.
Yeah.
We can still do that. It's like, but I think what he was trying to point out was why.
Yeah.
Why did his grandparents bring the entire family together?
Yeah.
Because if you look at really what it is
Yeah.
and how terrible it was and some of the massacres that happened, because he listed a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Why would his grandparents bring them all together like that? And, his grandparents were taught the same thing. See,
Yeah.
because, with reservations being the way it was and being basically sort of institutionalized learning,
Yep.
they weren't taught their history. They weren't taught any of that stuff in school. It was basically, here's the curriculum, and it's going to be just as whitewashed in the 50s as anything else.
Yeah.
And they didn't learn all that stuff. I mean, they had a pretty terrible time. Like when they had these institutionalized schooling and learning, things like long hair went away. They had crew cuts and haircuts, and the way they dressed changed. I mean, it was
You weren't
it was
allowed to
pretty bad.
braid your hair.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
you couldn't do any of that stuff. And so they went and kind of made it to, trying to Americanize, I guess is probably a bad way to say it, but to do that, sort of Americanize natives, and
Yeah.
not cool. So, and they did it basically systematic eradication of their history
Yeah.
and their traditions, right? Not good. So, why would you? Why would your grandparents do that? So either they learned, in school and just use it as an excuse to get together, to bring the family together for a big feast, or they felt like that's what they were supposed to do. I don't know. See, because I still think it's amazing that, we have races in this country that were treated terribly, of course, but still serve the country. It's
Yes.
still like Navajo code talkers, man. There's, it's like, I don't know. It's a thing, I suppose.
That.
So,
Yeah.
patriotism and nationalism go a long way, even when your country has treated you like garbage.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's how you end a Thanksgiving podcast. But no, if anything with this particular podcast today, I mean, Thanksgiving is terrible. It's for suckers if you look at it as being what you learned in school. Realistically, though, if you take the message behind it is to give thanks or appreciate what you have and to celebrate being in with the joy of others, then it's good.
Yeah.
Right?
So, if we compare it to everybody's history in North America, it is a celebration of the. I always looked at it as, okay, times are about to get tough because it's a cold winter ahead. Let's go ahead and celebrate what we have now and be thankful for what we have now before it gets too rough.
Yeah.
And I like thinking of it that way, but I know that's not the way it really was.
No.
And I also like to think of it as a way to get together with people that you care about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I think that we should not forget, but at the same time, not forget.
Yeah. And also let's incorporate the truth a little bit,
Yeah. I mean, history's
it.
awful.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So
yeah, Thanksgiving is terrible and it's for suckers. So there you go. If you're working, see, good to go.
And hopefully.
Now, here's something to keep in mind, though, for all you frugal-minded people out there. after Christmas, those turkeys get super cheap.
After Christmas or after Thanksgiving?
Oh, after Christmas.
Okay.
I mean, who are you talking? Just think about it.
Yeah.
What do people do? They either eat ham normally, and I'm basing this off my own experience. Either you eat ham or turkey or both, right? But usually you pick one. And it's like, oh, we're going to eat ham for Thanksgiving. We're going to have basically a turkey for Christmas.
And see, my family grew up the opposite. Turkey Thanksgiving, ham on Christmas.
Yeah, well, that's America. You can do whatever you want. But see, what happens, though, is after the holidays and before Easter, a lot of those turkeys get super cheap.
That's true.
And so it's almost worth buying like 3 or 4 of them and freezing them up in an old deep freeze and eating them later.
And that's a
like
cheap
an Easter.
geek tip.
Yep. So, I don't know. Anyway, we've been doing this too long. But we do
Okay.
appreciate you listening. One of the things that we're thankful for is we're definitely thankful for everybody who listens to the podcast and all the friends that we've made doing our little travels and going out and seeing some things and seeing these conferences and people at the conferences and making new friends. Very thankful for all that. We're definitely thankful for everybody who listens to the podcast and continues to support the podcast. But I don't know why, but yeah, they're doing it. It's like they're sticking with us. And so we will say that the beginning of the year, as we move into a new year, a new us kind of thing, will bring some changes to the CreepGeeks podcast for the better. And it's going to be a good thing. So, and we're really thankful for our family, who basically is family.
Yeah.
Family is good.
And
And
Pepper.
you know you are. Yep. Thankful for Pepper, who could care less up there sleeping in her little podcast chair. So we have lots of things coming up for the new year. And hopefully, if you have the opportunity to have a good time this holiday season, take it.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments, concerns, you can definitely get a hold of us.
That's going to
We're
be
out there.
contact@creekgeeks.com, or you can give us a call. Again, our voicemail inbox is 575-208-4025.
Yeah.
Or join our Facebook group. Our group is pretty lively with discussion, memes, stories, articles, and pay attention to our Facebook page. Please give us a like on Facebook.
Sure. And you can also use our Instagram page as well.
Or Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Twitter. Anyway, we have lots of things that we can do to get a hold of you, and you can get a hold of us. It's all good.
And all those links will be in the show notes for this podcast episode.
So thank you very much for listening. We do appreciate it. We are very thankful. And enjoy the holiday.
Yeah.
It's terrible and it's for suckers, but you know what? Celebrate it somehow if you want.
Yeah.
Or don't. It's America. Do what you want. So anyway, see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.